Speed course.
Speed horse.
Let's do this. Take two. The whole purpose of this session is I want you to understand the concepts of price, the basic concepts.
Okay.
Complex things, we're gonna narrow it down and we're gonna explain it in the most simple baby language. We're gonna dumb it down.
Yes, let's go.
Okay. What do you think we need to understand the story behind candlesticks in order to trade trend lines in the future?
When you know what is going behind the scenes, it will be much easier for you to predict what is going to happen. If you go to trade without any knowledge, I'm gonna have the expectation to actually win a trade.
Yeah. Trend lines alone, which is what we're gonna do in the distant future, not so distant, they give you the structure and the skeleton of a chart of the market. It's telling you if it's going up, which is the green upward trend line, or if it's going down, which is the red downward trend lines, or sometimes that the market has no direction at all and it goes sideways. So trend lines is just one part of the story. Trend lines alone do not tell you all about the fight that is happening behind the scenes. There's more to the story and you need to know as much as possible of the story. So the question is, would you ever enter a battlefield just by knowing where the fight might happen, but without knowing who's actually winning?
No.
And why not?
Because I better know the territory of the fight, because the better I know the area, the easy to dominate the fight.
How will you translate this to trading?
If I know the story behind the candlestick, then for me it will be easier to predict what is going to happen next.
One thing I want to point out is we're not going to predict. We're going to look at past data to understand what might happen in the future. What are the probabilities of something happening? Predicting sounds more like guessing, like gambling. We're not gambling here. So the general question for you, what do you know about candlesticks in 30 seconds?
So I know the candlestick is the representation of the price.
Okay. Okay.
2 seconds, not 30.
And now what you're gonna learn. The foundational terms related to candlesticks. We're gonna just cover the basics. They're just only a few. They're not a lot. So don't panic. Don't think that it's overwhelming. We're gonna keep it very simple. We're gonna keep it manageable and digestible. The different types of candlesticks. No panic. There are only two. And how to draw a correct candlestick yourself. It's easier than you think.
Easy when you know again.
So are you ready? Let's go. 4 basic concepts. Let's say you're gonna go to the marketplace. You buy food every Saturday and you go there in the morning sometimes.
Yes.
So let's say that at the beginning of the day the price of an apple is how much per apple?
40 euro.
This would be the starting price. This is also known as?
This is known as the opening price.
The opening price. Then at the end of the day, before the markets close and all the people pick up their stands and leave, which is at around 5.
Closing price.
It's the closing price. Then you have the most expensive price during the day, probably at 12 p.m. when everybody is, I don't know, free, their kids are finally awake, nobody has school, everybody goes to the market.
Okay, yeah. It's the highest price of the day.
It's the highest price of the day.
And then the lowest, the cheapest is the lowest price.
The cheapest price is the lowest price.
Yeah.
Got it. Now, how would this price movement look like in a line chart? This is how it would look like in a chart. Opening 4, highest was?
8.
Lowest?
1, and closing 2.
2. Now let's translate this to a candlestick. When you have the opening price, we're gonna draw a horizontal line. From the price point of how many euros per apple?
40 euro.
Then the highest price would be at?
8 euro per apple.
Then the lowest price would be?
1 euro
Per
apple.
And the closing price would be?
2 euros per apple.
2 euros per apple. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna connect the line of the opening price and the closing price. And we're gonna make a box and we're gonna fill that box in.
So this is the shape of the candlestick between closing and opening.
This is how the box looks like, this rectangle.
Okay.
When you connect the top of the rectangle with the highest price, this is the so-called upper wick that you mentioned.
Upper wick, yes.
Yeah. And then when you connect the lowest part of the rectangle with the lowest price during the day,
the opposite,
which would be
the lower wick.
Bravo. Now in this specific scenario, did the price close higher or lower than it opened?
Lower.
And what do we call a candle that closes lower than it opened?
Bearish.
And that's why it's red. It signifies basically a negative price change. From the starting point, you became negative. That's another way to see it. Now let's look at the opposite. This is what we had. Now the only thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna switch the opening price and the closing price. So the highest is gonna remain how much?
8 euros.
And the lowest is gonna remain?
1 euro.
1 euro. This would be the switch. Boom. This is called a bullish candlestick. Now, why is it called a bullish candlestick if the previous one was called a bearish candlestick?
Because the price was closer, higher than the opening.
Bravo. So that means the candlestick would be what color?
Green. Yeah,
green
color.
This would be the positive price change. So, what are the two types of candlesticks we have? And explain them in your own words.
Bullish, when the price it closed higher than the opening, and bearish is the candlestick when the price closed lower than the opening.
These are the two types that we have. Exactly what you said. For bullish, the closing is higher than the opening. That's why I put this green arrow, like the positive price change. And for bearish, the closing is lower than the opening.
Yes.
This is the red arrow. But notice how the highest point is exactly the same and the lowest point is exactly the same. The distance of the rectangles, they're the same size.
Very similar, yeah.
It's exactly the same. It's just that the opening and the closing price are switched. And that changes the color of the candle. I want to do some drawing exercises with you so that it really sticks with you how the price moves inside of a candle. Now, looking at this specific chart, what is the opening price?
€3
Per
apple. The highest €4. The lowest €1 and the highest €4.
This is the highest or this is the closing?
The closing, sorry.
This is the closing.
The closing.
Now, how would this candlestick look like if you were to draw it? Exactly how we drew it on the previous slides.
I do it like this. Beep, beep. High, best.
And would it be bullish or bearish?
Bullish.
And why?
Because it closed higher than opening.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah, bravo. It indeed closed higher than it opened.
Then open, yeah.
So it's green. Now let's look at another example. How would this specific candlestick look like?
This is opening price. Okay.
Would it be bullish or bearish?
Bullish.
So red or green?
Green. Yeah.
Bravo.
Bullish.
You're getting the hang of this. Now this one, this candlestick was a bit tricky for you.
It was.
Now let's do it again.
Let's see. Highest.
Yes. So it opened at 8, then it went to 9, that marked the highest. At some point it was at €3 per apple, but then it closed at €1 and that also happened to be the lowest.
The lowest, yeah.
That's why there's no lower wick.
Yes.
Why would this one be bearish?
So the reason one is bearish is that the closing was lowest than the opening.
And then the last candle.
The starting price, opening price, it was €3. It closed at €3 again. Then, that's a bit tricky because it opens at €3 and it closed at €3. It's a steady candlestick. How it's called?
We'll see. This is how the candlestick
It's a
looks
tie.
like indeed. Where it opened at 3, at some point it went up all the way to 9, at some point it went all the way to 1, and then it closed exactly where it opened.
Yeah.
So the difference between opening and closing is what?
No differences.
No difference. So there's no rectangle that you can fill in. So how you said, it's a tie. It's not red, it's not green, it's neutral. This we call a doji candlestick.
Doji candlestick.
Doji. Now there are different types of doji candlesticks, but what do you think makes a doji a doji?
The opening price is the same as the closing price. That makes doji.
Bravo. How you said, the difference between the opening and the closing price is 0 or a very minimum. The rectangle is very, very, very thin. I want to ask you a question and it's to level up even more. What do you think the filled in box of a candlestick is called?
The current price.
I'm gonna give you a hint.
Not so sure which. The body.
It's called the body of a candlestick, yes. So the rectangle that you see that is filled in with a color is called the body of the candlestick. They also call it the range, but I like the things to be very simplified. We're gonna call it the body. And the second question to level up is, what do you think the long lines are called?
Wick stick.
A wick.
A wick.
Nice. And what is this one called?
A stick. Upper stick. Upper wick.
And this one?
And a lower wick.
And indeed, you have the upper wick, which is the vertical line that goes on top of the rectangle. And you have the lower wick, which is the vertical line that goes below the rectangle. Now, we're gonna do a quick recap. Repetition is king. So the first question is, what are the 4 price points during any given period?
The opening price, the highest price, the closing price, and the lowest price.
Yes. You have the opening price, highest price, lowest price, and the closing price. Now, what is a candle called that closed higher than it opened? And what color is it?
It's called bullish and it's green color.
Bullish, Green color. What is a candle called that closed lower than it opened? And what color is it?
Bearish. Red color. Oh my god.
And what is the zone between the opening and the closing price called?
Wick.
What is the zone between the opening and the closing
Body.
price called? The body.
Or the range.
It's the body of the candle. And what are the sticks that stick out of the body of the candles?
Wick.
You have upper wick and...
Lower wick.
What is the type of candlestick called that has little to no body?
Let me think. The tie.
But what is it called?
To remember right
It starts with a D.
now. Doji.
A doji candlestick.
Doji candlestick.
And food for thought for next session. What do you think made the price move during food market day?
The demand. I think so the demand can increase the price.
And what else can increase the price? You want to open your e-commerce store, right? Where are you going to get the products from?
Suppliers.
So it's demand versus?
Supplier. Supply.
Supply
Demand
and demand.
supply. Supply and demand.
Yes, supply and demand, yes. So then I'll see you for the next session.
Thank you.